Hello, dear friend. Come sit with me a while, won't you? The morning air is soft, and the garden is just beginning to stretch awake. Dew still clinging to the petals, birds rustling in the branches, and the scent of earth warming under the sun. I've made a little pot of tea, and there's a comfortable chair waiting for you on the porch. Out here, time feels different, slower, kinder. And in this quiet space, we're reminded that beauty doesn't have to be bought or brand new. Sometimes the most magical things come from what others overlook: a chipped teacup, a drawer without a home, an old colander with a story to tell. You don't need youth or money to make something beautiful. All you need is a bit of care and a touch of imagination. That's why today I want to share some of the most delightful garden decor ideas made from secondhand treasures. These aren't just decorations, they're small love letters to the past, turned into useful, joyful pieces for your garden. Whether it's a windchime made from old silverware or a flower bed blooming from a wicker chair, each project carries its own charm, and every single one is doable, even if your hands don't work quite the way they used to. So let's wander through a world of thrifted magic together, where nothing is wasted and everything has the chance to shine again. Ready to begin? Do you remember the kind of lanterns that used to hang on porches long ago? The kind with rusted hinges, maybe a bit of foggy glass, and a handle worn smooth by time. You'd often find one by the back door or on a garden hook, more for nostalgia than for light. Well, today, that same humble lantern can become a treasure once more. If you find a vintage lantern at Savers or Value Village, pause for a moment. Look past the rust. Look past the missing glass. See instead the small, beautiful home it could become for a bird, for a moment, for a memory. To start, give the lantern a gentle cleaning. You don't have to scrub it spotless, just enough to remove dust and loosen any dirt that's clinging to the surface. If the glass panels are still intact, you can remove them carefully or leave them out entirely for a more open, breezy look. Now here's where it gets magical. Take a thrifted porcelain teacup and saucer, preferably with some old-fashioned charm. Perhaps one with delicate flowers or a gold rim. Use a strong outdoor adhesive to glue the saucer into the base of the lantern. Once it's set, glue the teacup on top, angling it slightly so it looks like it's gently pouring seed into the saucer. Let everything dry completely. Then fill the teacup with birdseed, nothing fancy, just enough to invite a few feathered friends to visit. Tie a thick rope through the lantern's handle and hang it from a low tree branch or garden hook where it's easy to reach and easy to admire. Now step back. Look at what you've made. The rustic metal of the lantern paired with the delicate time-worn porcelain. It's like a little poem hanging in your yard. And the birds, they'll come. They always do, especially when they sense care. You see, that lantern didn't need to be thrown away. It just needed a new purpose, just like so many things in life, just like us sometimes. There's something tender about offering shelter even to the smallest creatures. And in doing so, you've created not just a bird feeder, but a moment of peace in your garden. One that catches the light and the heart. Do you remember those old hanging fruit baskets that used to dangle in the kitchen, tiered wiry, maybe holding bananas or onions? There was something cozy about them, swaying gently in the corner, catching the light. These days, you might find one hiding in the back of a thrift store, a little bent, a little dusty. But don't pass it by. Because with just a few simple steps, that forgotten kitchen staple can become a charming bird feeder, one that offers not just function, but a dash of rustic garden poetry. Start by giving the metal basket a good clean. A little soap and water will do the trick. Then gather a few empty tuna cans, yes, tuna cans. Make sure they're washed thoroughly, labels removed and edges smooth. Each little can is going to become a tiny dish perfect for holding birdseed. Using a hammer and nail or a small drill, punch 2 holes on opposite sides near the rim of each can. Then thread sturdy twine through the holes to create loops like little handles. These loops are how you'll attach each tuna can to the outer rim of the hanging basket. Tie them on securely, spacing them evenly around the edge like a wreath of offerings. Once attached, fill each can with seed sunflower, millet, cracked corn, whatever your garden birds love. Then take 3 or 4 longer pieces of twine or rope and tie them to the top of the basket, gathering them upward into a strong loop for hanging. Find a good spot outside under a tree, maybe near a window, and hang your creation where you can watch the visitors come and go. The birds will flutter in and out, hopping from can to can, chirping and nibbling, a little flurry of life in motion. And you can sit nearby, cup of tea in hand, knowing you created a small haven from tuna cans, from a basket once used for apples. That's the beauty of it, dear friend. You've taken what others might call trash and turned it into hospitality, kindness, art. A reminder that usefulness never truly disappears. It just waits patiently for a second chance. The birds don't care where the feeder came from, but somehow they always seem to sense when something was made with love. Do you have a drawer filled with old silverware that no longer matches a lone spoon here, a couple of bent forks there? Maybe they remind you of a set your mother once had, or dinners from decades ago. At Savers or Value Village, bins of tarnished forks and forgotten knives often sit quietly waiting to be noticed. Well, today we're going to give those old utensils a second song. You don't need anything fancy to begin, just a wooden coat hanger and a handful of vintage silverware, the kind that clinks and clatters in a satisfying way when touched. If you'd like, start by gently sanding the coat hanger to smooth the wood. You can leave it natural or give it a coat of stain or clear sealant for a more polished look. Next, take your silverware, 4 to 6 pieces is a good start, and drill or punch a small hole near the handle of each. You can use a metal punch if you have one, or ask a neighbor for help with a drill. Just go slow and steady, no need to rush. Now cut some string fishing line or thin twine in varying lengths. Tie one end through each silverware hole and the other end along the bottom of the hanger, spacing them apart so they can move freely. Let them dangle at different heights to create both a pleasing visual rhythm and a layered, gentle sound. Once you've tied all the silverware pieces on, attach a longer loop of twine or ribbon to the hanger's hook. This will be your hanging point. Now step outside, pick a quiet little spot, maybe near your porch or beside a flowering bush, and hang your wind chime where it can dance in the breeze. When the wind passes through, the silverware will tap and ring against each other, creating a sound that's soft, irregular, and comforting, like a memory whispered. It's not loud, it won't demand attention, but it will bring a moment of peace when you need it, and that's enough. You've taken the ordinary coat hanger, some old forks, and turned them into something beautiful. Something alive with motion and music. And maybe as it chimes in the afternoon sun, you'll remember that beauty doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just tinkles quietly in the breeze, reminding you that even mismatched things still have purpose. Still lovely, still needed. Once upon a time, every kitchen had a metal colander, dented from use, a bit stained from tomato sauce or rinsed greens, but sturdy as ever. These days, you'll often find them stacked at thrift stores, no longer shining, but still strong. And oh, what charm they can bring outside. A colander is already full of holes, which makes it perfect for turning into a musical wind chime. And instead of chimes made from bells or beads, today we'll be using something unexpected: old keys and metal washers. Things that used to open doors or hold things together, now reborn into a gentle melody for your garden. Start by giving the colander a thorough wash, especially if it's been tucked away for a while. Dry it fully, then flip it upside down so the handle rings or side grips are at the top. Next, gather your keys and washers. These don't have to match, in fact, the more variety, the better. Look for keys with worn edges, washers of different sizes, even a few small padlock rings if you have them. They each bring a different tone to the chime, like instruments in a quiet symphony. Cut several pieces of fishing line, thin twine, or sturdy string. Thread one end through each key or washer, tying it securely. Then loop the other end through the perforated holes of the colander, spacing them all around its outer edge. Vary the length slightly so they don't knock all at once. You want the sound to rise and fall, not clang together. For hanging, attach a strong chain or thick rope to the colander's handles. Make sure it's balanced so the piece hangs evenly. Then choose a good spot in your garden, somewhere breezy but sheltered, and suspend your new wind chime. Now step back, listen. When the wind moves through those old keys, jingles softly a little clatter of memories. Washers tap gently like distant bells. And the colander, which once sat on a stove, now dances in the air, catching the light, singing its second life. There's something so comforting about using what's already here. No waste, no rush, just patience, imagination, and a touch of joy. This project reminds us that utility isn't the end of a story. It's the beginning of a new one. You've created music from metal, beauty from the forgotten. And in that, dear friend, there's something profoundly hopeful. Do you have a picture frame that's lost its photo, its purpose? Maybe the glass is chipped or the backing has fallen out, and now it leans quietly against a wall at the thrift store waiting for someone to see more. And today, that someone is you. Instead of holding an old photograph, this frame will soon cradle living art. Succulents, moss, and nature's textures all arranged like a painting that grows and changes with time. Begin with a sturdy wooden picture frame, ideally one without glass. If it still has glass, simply remove it and set it aside for another project. Take a moment to wipe the frame clean, maybe give it a light sanding, and admire the worn wood for what it is, full of character. Now flip the frame over and attach a piece of metal mesh or wire screen to the back, stretching it tight across the opening. You can use a staple gun, small nails, or strong glue, whatever feels easiest in your hands. This mesh will hold everything in place and give your plants a foundation to root into. Next, press fresh sheet moss gently into the mesh from the back. The moss acts as your planting base, holding in moisture and giving the piece a lush green feel right from the start. Now for the stars of the show, succulent cuttings. Tiny hens and chicks, sedums, or jade snippets work beautifully. Tuck the ends of each succulent through the mesh so that the roots or stem ends press into the moss behind. You don't need to crowd it, let each plant have space to grow and stretch. Mist the moss lightly with water to help it settle and hydrate the cuttings. Over time, those little plants will root into the moss and begin to thrive. To hang your living artwork, use sturdy twine or garden hooks and place it on a fence or sheltered wall where it can get filtered light and the occasional rain mist. Now take a step back. What you see isn't just a frame. It's a window into the rhythm of life, slow, quiet growing. You've given something forgotten a second chance, and you've added life to your garden in a way that feels both modern and timeless. Because when you turn what was once empty into something full of green, you've done more than decorate. You've nurtured something. And in a way, it nurtures you back. You know those shallow wooden drawers, the ones that once held sewing patterns, socks, or little bits and bobs from a desk long gone. Maybe you've come across one at a thrift store. Its knobs loose and corners worn smooth. It may not look like much at first glance, but don't walk past it. That drawer is ready to bloom. This project is perfect for bringing color, texture, and life to your garden without any heavy lifting, and it's a joy to make. Start by choosing a drawer with a bit of character. It doesn't need to be fancy, just something wooden, shallow, and sturdy enough to hold a little soil. Give it a good cleaning and a light sanding to smooth out any rough edges. If it still has a handle, you can leave it on for charm or remove it if you'd like a cleaner look. Now comes the fun part, mosaics. Gather broken tile pieces, maybe from old plates, thrifted ceramic bits, or sample tiles from a home store. Don't worry if they're all different. The mismatched colors and patterns are what make it beautiful. Using strong outdoor adhesive, glue the pieces onto the outer sides of the drawer in any design that feels good to your eyes. You can create a pattern or go wild and random. Once everything is glued and dry, spread a bit of grout or waterproof sealant over the surface, working it into the spaces between the tiles. Wipe away the excess and let it cure. This helps protect the mosaic from rain and wear and gives it a lovely finished texture. Next, line the inside of the drawer with a layer of plastic or a cut-up trash bag to protect the wood. Poke a few small drainage holes if needed. Fill it with well-draining succulent soil, the kind that lets water flow through gently without soaking the roots. Now choose your succulents. Mix small rosettes, trailing types, and a few colorful varieties if you can. Arrange them gently into the soil like a painter choosing where each stroke belongs. No need to crowd, give them space to grow, and they'll thank you with time. Finally, place your drawer planter on a low garden bench, porch step, or sturdy shelf somewhere that catches the morning sun and where you can admire your creation without bending too far. And just like that, a drawer once meant for storage becomes a vessel for life. It's proof that even the simplest, most overlooked items can be transformed, not with money, but with imagination and care. And isn't that a little like us too? Remember those dainty porcelain teacups, the kind that used to sit on doilies filled with sugar cubes or rose-scented tea? These days, they often sit quietly on thrift store shelves, mismatched and forgotten. But with just a little paint and a dash of imagination, they can become something utterly enchanting. a field of whimsical mushrooms nestled right in your garden. This project is gentle, joyful, and full of charm. And best of all, it's simple to make and easy to plant without straining or bending too much. Start by picking out a few thrifted teacups and matching saucers if you like the more delicate, and mismatched the better. Look for sturdy ones that feel solid in the hand. Once home, clean them well and let them dry. Now it's time to paint. Use bright, cheerful outdoor paint in shades that mimic mushrooms. Think red with white spots for a classic fairy tale. Look, or earthy tones of brown cream and soft mossy green. If your hands are steady, you can add dots, swirls, or even tiny vines. If not, simple swaths of color are just as lovely. There's no wrong way to do it. Once the paint is fully dry, seal each teacup with an outdoor waterproof sealant. This step protects your handiwork from rain and sun, helping your mushrooms last all season long. Now turn each teacup upside down. The bowl becomes the cap of your mushroom. Use strong outdoor adhesive to glue the top of a wooden dowel or garden stake to the base of the teacup. Allow it to dry completely before moving on. Choose dowels that are tall enough to stand without being a tripping hazard. Around 2 to 3 feet is usually perfect. If needed, you can pre-sharpen the bottom ends of the dowels slightly to make pushing them into the soil easier. Then step into your garden with your little bundle of mushroom stakes. Press each one firmly into the ground, spaced apart or clustered close like they've just sprouted overnight. Now look at them, those painted teacups blooming from the soil, catching sunlight and imagination. It's like a secret world just revealed, a place where fairies might dance under the moonlight, or children might stop and stare with wide eyes. And you made it all not with new things, but with what was already waiting to be loved again. Because, dear friend, whimsy doesn't belong to the young. It belongs to the hopeful. And these little mushroom stakes, they're your garden's joyful wink, a gentle reminder that beauty and wonder are always just beneath the surface. Have you ever looked at an upside-down glass bowl and thought, that could be a mushroom cap? Probably not. But once you do, it's hard to unsee the magic, especially when paired with something as ordinary as an empty soda bottle. This next project is one of those delightful little surprises that turns the simplest items into pure garden enchantment, perfect for fairy corners, childlike wonder, or just a quiet smile when you pass by. Start with a few small glass bowls from Savers or Value Village, clear, rounded, and smooth. Look for ones that feel weighty and solid. Then grab a few empty soda bottles. Any size will do, though shorter ones work best for a squat mushroom look. Wash everything well and let it dry. Then it's time to bring out the paints. Paint the soda bottles first. These will be your mushroom stems. Bright colors like turquoise magenta or lemon yellow give a whimsical feel, while soft pastels can make them look more woodland fantasy. Add glitter if you'd like just a touch while the paint is still wet. Think magic, not mayhem. Next, flip the glass bowls upside down. These are your mushroom caps. You can leave them clear if you want a dewdrop look, or paint the outside in bold reds with white dots for a classic toadstool feel. Metallic paints, tiny star decals, or marbled finishes also work beautifully. There's no limit to the creativity here. Once both the bottle and the bowl are dry, it's time to attach them. Use a strong, weather-resistant adhesive, something made for outdoor glass and plastic. Apply a generous amount around the rim of the bottle, then gently press the upside-down bowl on top. Let it cure fully according to the glue's directions, ideally overnight. Now you've got a mushroom, tall, shiny, cheerful, ready for planting. You can place these directly in your flower beds, fairy gardens, or along a shaded garden path. If you want them to stand up firmly, dig a small hole and bury the bottom of the bottle a few inches into the soil, or simply nestle them in soft moss or mulch so they peek out playfully from beneath leaves. As the sunlight moves through the day, the glass catches it just right, creating little glimmers among the plants. They sparkle, they shimmer, and suddenly, your garden feels like a storybook. It's incredible what happens when you stop looking at objects as they are and start seeing what they might become. And just like that, trash becomes treasure. A soda bottle becomes magic. And your garden becomes a place where wonder never quite grows old. Do you remember that wooden chair in your grandmother's kitchen? Maybe the one with a wobble, or the faded paint rubbed smooth by years of elbows and aprons. Chairs like that often end up tucked away in basements or thrift stores, too worn for dining but too lovely to throw away. But what if that chair could bloom again? This project gives an old wooden chair a second life, not as a place to sit, but as a place where flowers can thrive. It's simple, sturdy, and adds a gentle vintage charm to any patio or garden corner. First, look for a chair with a solid frame even if the seat is missing or cracked. That's perfect, in fact. You'll be removing the seat entirely, so focus on finding something with character spindles, slats, or carved legs. Clean it thoroughly and give it a light sanding to smooth the edges and remove any old flaking paint. Now choose a wire basket that fits snugly into the empty seat frame. Thrift stores often carry these in all shapes and sizes. Old fruit baskets, waste bins, or even hanging planters work well. Line the basket with landscape fabric, burlap, or even a doubled-up plastic bag with holes poked in the bottom for drainage. This will keep the soil in while letting excess water flow out. Fill the basket with good quality potting mix. Something rich and light, perfect for holding moisture without becoming soggy. Now comes the fun planting. Choose flowers that trail and tumble: petunias, sweet potato vine, alyssum, or trailing lobelia. Nestle a few upright blooms in the center, perhaps marigolds, pansies, or geraniums for height and contrast. Arrange them like you're painting with petals, balancing color and shape with your own gentle eye. When you're done, place the chair in a cozy garden nook under a shady tree or beside your porch. As the flowers grow and spill over the seat, the chair becomes more than just furniture. It becomes a blooming sculpture, a quiet testament to reinvention. You've turned something discarded into something adored. You've honored its past, the meals it served, the people it held, while giving it a new role in your life. And every time you walk by and see those blossoms spilling over the edge, you'll remember, even when we're no longer what we used to be, we can still be beautiful, still vibrant, still blooming in our own way. Because second chances, dear friend, are for chairs, and for us too. Wicker has a certain warmth to it, doesn't it? It creaks softly when touched, and its woven texture seems to whisper stories of screened porches, iced tea, and summer afternoons long past. You might find a wicker chair at the thrift store, looking tired, faded, maybe fraying a little around the arms, but don't let that discourage you. There's still life in it. And today, that life comes in the form of trailing greenery. This project is especially gentle on the hands and back. There's no heavy lifting, no digging, just a simple transformation that turns a forgotten chair into a cascading planter full of charm. Start by giving the wicker chair a thorough clean. A soft brush works well to get into the weaves, and a damp cloth helps remove dust or cobwebs. Once it's dry, examine the seat area. If the wicker is broken or sagging, don't worry. You'll be lining it anyway. Cut a burlap sack or landscape fabric to fit snugly into the seat, well forming a natural-looking bowl. You can staple or tie it into place using jute twine or a bit of garden wire. Just secure it well enough to hold soil without sagging too deeply. If you're using plastic liner instead, make sure to poke a few holes in the bottom for drainage. Now add potting soil enough to fill the seat but not overflow. This soil will cradle your trailing plants, and over time they'll begin to spill gently over the edges. As for plants, choose varieties with soft cascading vines, English ivy, creeping Jenny, sweet potato vine, or even trailing fuchsia for a pop of color. These plants thrive in a container setup and are happy to dangle and drape, creating that overgrown storybook look. Tuck each plant into the soil gently, then water them well. Add a bit of mulch or moss on top to hold moisture and give a polished, natural finish. Now it's time to find the perfect spot. Place your wicker chair in a shaded garden corner on your porch or beside a pathway. Over the weeks, vines will stretch, leaves will flutter, and the whole chair will seem to melt into the garden itself, a living sculpture made from care and second chances. Every time you see it, you'll be reminded that softness is strength. That age doesn't mean the end of usefulness. That beauty often grows from what others overlook. The wicker may no longer be strong enough to hold a person, but it can still hold life. And sometimes that's even more meaningful. There's something magical about a mirror placed in a garden. It doesn't just reflect, it multiplies. A small space feels twice as large, a single flower bed becomes a sea of green. But when you frame that mirror in something natural, something weathered by time, it doesn't just reflect your garden, It belongs to it. That's exactly what this next project offers, a way to transform a simple thrifted mirror into a window of illusion edged with driftwood and wonder. Begin by choosing a framed mirror from Savers or Value Village. Don't worry if the frame is scratched or outdated. You'll be covering it anyway. Just make sure the glass is in one piece and that it's big enough to make an impact. Even something as small as 12 rows 18 inches can work beautifully in an intimate garden nook. Start by wiping the mirror clean and removing any stickers, dust, or residue. Then gather your driftwood pieces. If you live near a beach or lake, you might have some already. If not, you can often find them at thrift shops, craft stores, or even in the backyard. Old branches or bark work just as well if they've been naturally aged and dried. Lay out your driftwood pieces along the edges of the mirror frame, first arranging them like a puzzle. Mix long pieces with short, wide, with narrow. The goal isn't perfection, it's natural balance. You're layering a bit of forest onto your reflection. Once you're happy with the layout, glue each piece securely using strong outdoor adhesive. Press down and hold gently, then allow to dry fully. If you like, you can even overlap a few pieces at the corners or let them trail off the edge for a more organic feel. Now it's time to place your creation in the garden. Hang the mirror on a fence shed wall or even prop it gently against a sturdy tree trunk. Just be sure it's positioned where it can catch a bit of sunlight, enough to shimmer, but not so much that it overheats or blinds. You'll see your plants reflected back, doubled in beauty. Paths appear longer. Light bounces gently from leaf to leaf. And that driftwood, it grounds the mirror in nature, making it feel like it's always been there, like a secret portal between the real and the imagined. In this mirror, you don't just see yourself. You see possibility, growth. A reminder that even something as fragile as glass can feel at home in the wild when surrounded by the strength of time-worn wood. Just like us, it becomes part of the landscape, weathered and all the more lovely for it. Every woman I know has had at least one little compact mirror tucked into a purse, the kind with a metal case, maybe a cracked lid, maybe forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. Over time, these small mirrors pile up, no longer used, but still full of shine. Now imagine taking a handful of those old mirrors from your drawer from a thrift shop bin and arranging them together in a beautiful mosaic that catches the light and dances with the breeze. That's what today's project is all about, making a garden shimmer with secondhand sparkles. Start with a basic wooden picture frame, one with a solid backing and no glass. It doesn't need to be large or fancy. Clean it gently, removing any dust or loose bits, and paint, or stain it if you wish. A simple black or natural wood finish works well for contrast. Next, gather your small round mirrors. You can often find old compact mirrors at Savers or Value Village, and they don't all need to match. In fact, different sizes and frames add to the charm. If you're reusing compacts, carefully remove the glass pieces from their cases. Safety gloves help here, and patience is key, no need to rush. Once you have a collection of small mirrors ready, lay them out inside the picture frame like a puzzle. Let them overlap slightly or leave small spaces in between for extra texture. Play with placement until you like the pattern. When you're satisfied, glue each mirror to the frame's backing using a strong outdoor adhesive. Press them gently and evenly. Let everything dry completely overnight if possible to ensure the glue sets firmly. Now comes the magic. Hang your mosaic frame on a garden fence shed wall or post, where it can reflect both sunlight and greenery. As the sun moves, the mirrors will catch glimmers of sky petals, leaves, even the flutter of birds or butterflies passing by. It won't be blinding, it'll be soft, subtle, like garden jewelry. This project is more than just decorative. It's symbolic. You've taken little fragments, pieces that once reflected only a single face, and turned them into something greater, something that reflects the whole garden, the whole world. And maybe in a quiet moment, you'll catch your own reflection there too, not as a flaw, not as a wrinkle, but as part of a beautiful, ever-changing story. Because light doesn't ask for perfection. It only needs a surface willing to shine. In a world full of plastic pots and store-bought planters, there's something refreshingly down-to-earth about reusing a good old metal colander. Maybe it once strained spaghetti or rinsed garden lettuce. Now, with just a little care, it can become a hanging flower basket bursting with charm and color. If you find a colander at a thrift store, metal perforated with sturdy handles, don't pass it up. That bowl full of holes is already halfway to being the perfect planter. Start by cleaning the colander thoroughly. You don't need to scrub away all signs of age. A little rust or patina just adds to its rustic soul. Next, you'll want to create a liner to keep soil from slipping through the holes. You can use coconut coir, sphagnum moss, or even an old burlap sack. Press the liner snugly inside, covering the bottom and sides. Now fill the lined colander with potting soil, stopping about an inch from the rim. Choose soil that retains moisture but drains well. Most garden center blends will work fine. Gently press it down so it settles evenly. Here comes the fun part: planting. Select trailing plants that love to spill over the sides. Ivy trailing petunias, bacopa or calabrachoa, are all wonderful choices. You can mix in a few upright blooms like geraniums or marigolds in the center for height. Arrange the plants like you're building a bouquet, full, vibrant, a little wild. Once planted, give your flowers a good drink of water and let the basket rest while you prepare to hang it. For hanging, repurpose old lamp chains or thick rope. Attach the chains to the colander's handles using strong metal hooks or key rings, making sure it balances evenly. Gather the chains at the top into a single hook or loop for easy hanging. Find the perfect spot in your garden, maybe under a tree, on the corner of your porch, or even from an arbor or shepherd's hook. As it hangs, the colander sways gently in the breeze, its blooms dancing softly in the air. It's humble, beautiful, and full of life. And every time you see it, you'll be reminded that usefulness doesn't end when the cooking stops. That something once practical can become something poetic. You've taken an everyday kitchen tool and given it a new rhythm, not in boiling water, but in morning sunlight and birdsong. That's the joy of your garden, dear friend. It's not just about growing flowers, it's about growing new stories from old things. Of all the kitchen gadgets that find their way to thrift stores, the plastic salad spinner might be the most overlooked. Clunky, awkward, often missing a lid, but don't be fooled. With just a bit of vision, it can become a charming hanging herb garden, perfect for growing fresh greens right outside your kitchen door. And the best part? It's lightweight, easy to work with, and doesn't require any kneeling or heavy lifting, ideal for those of us who prefer to garden from a chair or standing comfortably at a table. Start by selecting a sturdy salad spinner bowl from your local Savers or Value Village. The spinning mechanism isn't important here, you just need the outer bowl, preferably one with some built-in holes or slits. If there are no holes, don't worry. You can make your own drainage system by carefully drilling or poking small holes around the base and sides. A heated nail works well for this if you don't have power tools. Once your drainage is in place, line the inside of the bowl with breathable fabric, coconut coir, burlap, or even a piece of an old cotton t-shirt will do. This helps keep the soil in place while still allowing water to drain through gently. Fill the lined bowl with potting soil, leaving an inch or so of space from the rim. Now choose your herbs. Go for your favorites: basil, parsley, thyme, oregano, anything you love to cook with or smell in the breeze. Nestle each plant into the soil, spacing them gently and giving them room to grow. Now for the hanging part. Cut 3 or 4 equal lengths of strong cloth strips, macrame cord, or braided twine. Tie each one securely to the rim of the salad spinner at evenly spaced points. Gather the ends at the top and knot them together into a loop, or secure them with a metal ring. Hang your new herb garden from a hook, pergola, beam tree branch, or shepherd's pole, anywhere it can get a bit of sun and stay within reach. Each time you step outside and brush your hand across the herbs, releasing their scent, you'll feel it, that gentle pride. You've made something useful, beautiful, simple, and best of all, you've done it with something most would have thrown away. This little spinner, once full of water and lettuce, now spins joy and flavor into your days. Because when you plant with intention, even in plastic, you grow more than herbs. You grow delight. There's something irresistibly sweet about a pair of tiny rubber boots. Maybe they remind you of your children splashing through puddles, or of your own muddy adventures in springtime rain. Bright yellow, red, or polka-dotted, they were made for play. And now they're ready to bloom. At your next visit to the thrift store, keep an eye out for a pair of children's rain boots. They don't need to match perfectly. In fact, a little scuff or wear just adds character. These boots are about to become the most cheerful little planters in your garden. Start by giving them a thorough rinse inside and out. If the soles are caked with dirt or the insides a bit musty, just soak them in warm, soapy water for a bit, then let them dry completely. Once clean, use a small drill or a thick nail to poke a few drainage holes in the soles. This helps excess water escape and keeps your plants happy. If the boots are already cracked or split, that's even better. Nature's already done some of the work for you. Now fill each boot about 2/3 full with well-draining potting soil. Gently press it down so the plants have a cozy home. Choose flowers that spill and overflow like trailing petunias, calabrachoa, or marigolds. Tuck a plant into each boot, patting the soil around the roots and watering well. To add a whimsical twist, pair your boots with an old umbrella frame. You can often find broken umbrellas at thrift shops or even in your own closet, the fabric torn but the frame still intact. Open the umbrella frame and remove any leftover fabric, leaving the spindly metal arms exposed. Now position the boots at the base of the umbrella frame, either placing them side by side or tying them around the central pole with garden wire or zip ties. If you're feeling playful, you can even fill the top of the umbrella frame with lightweight vines or twinkle lights. Place the whole setup in your garden, somewhere visible, sunny, and near a walking path where it can surprise and delight. As the flowers grow and spill over the boots and the umbrella frame arcs above them like a skeletal dome, the whole display becomes a snapshot of childhood caught in bloom. It's playful, it's nostalgic, and it's full of heart. Because joy doesn't always come from perfection. Sometimes it shows up in rubber boots and rusty frames, reminding you that beauty often begins with a puddle and grows from there. There's a quiet story held in an old pair of work boots. Scuffed leather, frayed laces, soles worn down from years of steady steps. Maybe they belonged to someone who built things, fixed things, tended things, and now, with a little care, they can hold something new: wildflowers. This project is rugged, soulful, and incredibly simple. It's perfect for anyone who wants to add rustic character to a garden wall, porch post, or fence. No heavy lifting, just a bit of tying, filling, and joy. Start by finding a pair of old work boots at your local thrift store. Don't worry if they're mismatched or weathered, the more worn the better. These boots have lived, and they're ready for one more purpose. Clean them out well. Give the insides a good shake and scrub the outsides if needed. If they're too stiff, you can soften them a bit with warm water and a cloth, but no need to make them perfect. Just make them yours. Next, loosen the laces and gently open up the boot tops. Using a drill or sharp nail, poke a few small drainage holes through the soles. This step is important. It allows rainwater to escape and keeps roots from getting soggy. Now fill each boot with potting soil, stopping just below the top edge. Choose wildflowers that thrive in small containers and bring bursts of color: pansies, violas, zinnias, marigolds, or even sweet alyssum. Nestle each plant into the soil with gentle hands and give them a soft watering to help them settle in. To hang the boots, take a length of thick rope or jute and loop it through the ankle area or the top eyelets. Tie them together securely so they hang like a pair slung over a shoulder. You can also attach a hook to the tongue or back heel for easier wall mounting. Now find the perfect spot: a sunny porch beam, an old fence post, or even a low-hanging tree limb. Hang the boots so they swing slightly in the breeze, close enough for you to admire the flowers that spill from their tops like little bouquets. Each time you walk by, you'll feel it, the contrast between the tough leather and the delicate petals, the past and the present. These boots may no longer walk, but now they bloom. It's a tender reminder that usefulness can take new forms, that strength can soften, that things and people can be repurposed, reimagined, and deeply loved again. All it takes is someone who sees potential where others see worn-out souls. And today, dear friend, that someone is you. Somewhere in the back of a thrift store, there's often a pile of forgotten dinnerware, chipped plates, floral saucers, and mismatched ceramic oddities. And tucked nearby, an old broom with its bristles long worn out, the handle still straight and strong. Alone, they're nothing special. But together, they become a whimsical garden tower that feels like a sculpture built by nature and nostalgia. This DIY is gentle on the hands and full of charm, perfect for adding vertical interest to a flower bed or corner of your garden without taking up much space. Start by gathering your materials: a sturdy broomstick or mop handle, wood or metal, and 5 to 8 ceramic plates in various sizes and colors. At the thrift store, look for plates with personality floral prints. Colorful borders, even cracked or slightly chipped ones, can work beautifully. At home, clean each plate and dry thoroughly. Then, using a ceramic drill bit, carefully drill a hole through the center of each plate. Go slow, use water to cool the bit, and take your time. Ceramic is delicate. If drilling feels too difficult, you can also find pre-drilled plates online or ask a local handyman or neighbor for help. Once your plates are ready, gently sand any sharp edges around the holes to prevent cuts or cracks. Now it's time to assemble your tower. Starting from the bottom, slide the largest plate down the broomstick so it rests close to the soil. Then add the next plate, and the next, stacking them from largest to smallest, like a totem. You can place small rubber washers or adhesive bumpers between the plates if you want to add stability or spacing. Finish with a decorative stopper at the top. A ceramic bowl teacup or a glass orb can work beautifully. Just secure it with waterproof glue to keep it from sliding off. Now find a sunny patch of garden soil and press the broom handle firmly into the ground. If you like, you can also bury the base in a large planter or cement it into a decorative pot for extra height and sturdiness. Step back and smile. Your plate tower will catch the morning dew, the afternoon sun, and the admiration of every neighbor who sees it. It's quirky, it's colorful, and it's full of stories, one from every plate and one from your own hands. Because when you stack beauty on top of usefulness and imagination on top of the ordinary, you get something truly magical. And just like that, the garden grows upward, and so does your creativity. It's funny how often we overlook the things right under our feet, like a rusted pipe tossed near the shed or left behind in a garage corner. It looks rough, forgotten. But that's the wonderful thing about gardening with imagination. Even the most rugged materials can rise up again, quite literally. Today, we're turning a weathered metal pipe and a few thrifted glass saucers into a glowing garden column that catches sunlight like a stained glass window in the grass. Start by selecting a pipe about 2 to 3 feet tall. Don't worry if it's rusty or scratched. That aged look adds character. Just make sure it's still sturdy. Give it a gentle cleaning to remove loose dirt, then dry it well. You can leave the rust for charm or lightly sand it if you'd like a cleaner base. Now visit your local Savers or Value Village for small glass saucers, the kind that might once have sat beneath teacups or tiny planters. Look for different colors: seafoam green, amber, cobalt blue, or frosted clear. The more variety, the more magic. Clean each saucer thoroughly, then dry them completely. Using a strong outdoor adhesive meant for bonding glass to metal like E6000 or a heavy-duty epoxy, begin attaching the saucers to the pipe. Start at the bottom, applying a bead of glue to the back of each saucer and pressing it against the pipe's surface. Overlap them slightly like scales or shingles, turning the pipe slowly as you go. Work your way up the column, spacing the saucers evenly or clustering them for a more organic look. Let each section dry before adding the next if needed. Slow and steady is the way. Once your column is fully adorned and the glue has cured overnight, choose a sunny spot in your garden. Press the bottom of the pipe into the soil or anchor it inside a large planter for stability. When the sun hits those glass saucers, they'll shimmer like drops of light, frozen mid-air. And just like that, you've taken something forgotten, a rusted pipe, and turned it into a beacon of color, light, and imagination. It doesn't take much: a little glue, a few dishes, and a heart willing to see what others don't. And maybe that's the gift of growing older, not just that we know how to make do, but that we know how to make magic out of the mundane. That even rust can shine when we give it the chance. Have you ever seen the wire frame of an old lampshade? With the fabric torn away, it stands there like a skeleton, delicate, curved, almost sculptural. Most would toss it aside. But in your hands, dear friend, that frame becomes something magical. This project is as gentle as it is enchanting: a glowing garden orb made from fairy lights and a forgotten lampshade, perfect for soft evening light and quiet smiles. First, find a wire lampshade frame at your local thrift shop. Look past the dusty fabric or faded fringe, you'll be removing it anyway. What you want is the bare structure underneath. Once home, cut away any remaining fabric and clean the frame thoroughly. A damp cloth and a little dish soap will do. Next, choose your lights. Battery-operated or solar-powered string lights work best. Go for warm white tones for a soft golden glow, or tiny multicolored bulbs if you want something more playful. Make sure your lights are outdoor safe and weather resistant. Now begin wrapping the lights gently around the frame. Start at the base and work your way up, weaving them in and out of the metal ribs. You don't need to be precise, a little unevenness adds charm. Just try to space the lights so the glow feels balanced. Use twist ties or soft floral wire to hold the string in place as needed. When you reach the top, secure the light string and tuck the battery pack or solar panel neatly inside or just beneath the top ring. Make sure it's accessible for switching on and off or catching sunlight if it's solar powered. For hanging, attach a sturdy rope chain or hook to the top of the frame. Then find the perfect branch, one that reaches out like an arm over your favorite garden bench or corner. Hang your orb so it floats gently in the air about eye level, where the glow can be admired without strain. As dusk falls and the first stars appear, your orb will begin to shimmer, not harshly but like candlelight behind lace. It's quiet, warm, and whimsical, like something from a midsummer dream. And you'll smile, because you've made something lovely out of nothing special. You've taken a forgotten lampshade and turned it into a tiny moon for your own backyard sky. That's what creativity does. It brings light. It reimagines. It transforms the ordinary into wonder. And in doing so, dear friend, it gently transforms us too. There's something beautiful about light that doesn't come from electricity or wires, the kind that gathers from the sun all day and then quietly gives it back to you at night. Soft, gentle, and glowing from within. Today's project turns an old metal fruit basket, the kind you might have once filled with apples or bananas on your kitchen counter, into a floating solar lantern for your garden. Lightweight, sustainable, and full of charm, this piece is as functional as it is magical. Begin with a metal fruit basket from Savers or Value Village. It can be round, oval, deep, or shallow. The open wire design is what matters most. Give it a good wash with warm, soapy water to remove any old residue or dust. Then dry it thoroughly. Next, gather a handful of small solar-powered garden lights. Look for compact lights with removable stakes, the kind you can pull apart so that only the top light and solar panel remain. These little lights will sit inside the basket, so make sure they're small enough to fit comfortably. Arrange the lights inside the basket evenly spaced so their glow will shine through the gaps. You can nestle them into a base of moss or small stones if you want a more polished look, or leave them loose for a more rustic feel. Make sure the solar panels are angled upward so they'll catch plenty of sunlight during the day. To hang the basket, use twine rope or an old chain, anything sturdy and weather safe. Tie 3 or 4 strands evenly around the basket's rim and gather them at the top in a strong knot or metal ring. This will help the basket hang level and sway gently in the breeze. Now find a sunny spot, a tree branch, pergola beam, or shepherd's hook, and hang your lantern where it can soak in the daylight. As the evening comes on, the lights will flicker to life, glowing softly through the metal frame like fireflies caught in a bowl. It's a simple project, but one that transforms your space completely. Because it doesn't just light the garden, it lights your spirit. It reminds you that you don't need perfection or expensive materials to make something beautiful. All you need is what you already have, and the willingness to look at it differently. A fruit basket, a bit of sun, a glowing gift to yourself and to the night. Some things hold memories even when their purpose has long passed, like an old wooden cutting board. Scratched, stained, and softened by time, it may no longer be needed in the kitchen, but it still has a story to tell. And with a little paint and imagination, that story can become part of your garden. This project is all about adding warmth and personality to your outdoor space through words. Uplifting, funny, or wise, your favorite garden quotes can now live among your flowers, painted by hand onto a surface worn with years of use and care. Start by choosing a few wooden cutting boards from your local thrift shop. Look for ones with handles, character, and some age, but still sturdy. Give them a gentle wash and a light sanding if needed to smooth out any rough edges or deep marks. You're not trying to erase their past, just make room for something new. Next, apply a base coat of outdoor paint or wood primer in the color of your choice. Soft greens, creamy whites, or cheerful yellows work beautifully. Let it dry completely before moving on. Now comes the heart of the project, the words. Choose a short garden quote, a bit of wisdom, or even a playful phrase like, Grow with grace. Be kind. Plant smiles, grow laughter. Welcome to my happy place. Use stencils if you'd like clean, easy lettering, or freehand it with a steady brush and a little courage. Don't worry if it's not perfect. The charm is in the handmade feel. Once your lettering is complete and dry, seal the whole board with an outdoor varnish or clear coat to protect it from sun and rain. Let it cure fully. For a decorative touch, screw in an old drawer handle, vintage knob, or even a small hook at the top or bottom of the board. These little accents give your sign extra personality and another nod to upcycling. Now, mount each sign onto a wooden stake or post and plant it firmly in your garden bed near the porch or along a pathway. You can even hang one on the fence by the potting shed or next to your bird bath. Every time you pass it, your message will greet you like an old friend, quiet, kind, and true. Because in the garden, words bloom too. And when we speak them through our hands, they grow deeper roots. You've just turned an object meant for chopping into something that heals. Every gardener has had that moment standing in front of a bed of tiny green sprouts wondering, was this basil or cilantro? The answer comes weeks later, of course, but wouldn't it be lovely to have a beautiful, reusable way to mark your plants? Today's project takes that humble idea and adds rustic charm using two simple thrift store finds: old chalkboards and sturdy twigs. Together, they become elegant garden markers, practical, decorative, and full of character. Start by looking for small chalkboard panels at Savers or Value Village. These might be miniature standing signs, tabletop easels, or even pieces of wood painted with chalkboard paint. If you can't find ready-made ones, you can make your own by cutting scrap wood into small rectangles and painting one side with chalkboard paint available at most craft or hardware stores. Next, find your stakes. Instead of buying new wooden dowels, why not head outside and gather thick, straight twigs? Branches from a pruning session, fallen sticks from a recent storm nature always provides. Look for ones that are about 12–18 inches long and strong enough to support a little sign. Use hot glue or small screws to attach each chalkboard to its branch stake. Position the chalkboard about 2/3 of the way up the branch so there's enough wood below to press into the soil. Let everything set completely before moving on. Now it's time for labeling. Using chalk or a white chalk marker, write the name of each plant clearly and lovingly. Tomatoes, lavender, zinnias, dill. If you have a playful spirit, you can add little doodles or draw a sun or a bee beside the words. Once your markers are ready, gently press them into your garden bed's container pots or herb planters. Space them so they're easy to read and accessible without having to bend too low. Since they're reusable, you can simply wipe off the chalk at the end of the season and write new names next year. And oh, how lovely they look. The dark slate of the chalkboards pops against the green of leaves and the color of blooms. The natural wood stakes blend beautifully into the garden as though they've grown there themselves. They speak softly but clearly, just like you. Because labeling plants isn't just about memory. It's about mindfulness. It's about slowing down, taking time to name what you're growing, and celebrating the quiet work of your hands. And in that act, writing, placing, tending, you affirm something beautiful. This is mine. I made this. I'm still growing too. Some days the rain comes slow and steady, tapping gently on the roof, pooling in the bird bath, sliding down leaves. And in that stillness, there's a kind of music, a rhythm, a grace. Today's project captures that beauty by turning thrifted metal buckets into a cascading rain chain that guides water like poetry through the garden. You've likely seen rain chains before, a charming alternative to downspouts. But instead of buying one, why not make your own with small metal pails from the thrift store and a few simple tools? Start by gathering 5 to 7 small metal buckets. These don't have to match. In fact, the charm is in their differences, some a little rusty, others shiny, a few dented just so. Give each one a gentle cleaning and let them dry thoroughly. Next, using a small drill or nail and hammer, make a hole in the bottom center of each bucket. This will allow rainwater to pass gracefully from one to the next. Then, on each side of the rim, drill or punch 2 holes directly across from each other. These are where your connecting chains will go. Now you'll need a length of chain, or for a more delicate look, strong necklace chains from the thrift store jewelry section. Using small S-hooks, jump rings, or heavy gauge wire, connect the buckets one beneath the other by threading the chains through the side holes. Each lower bucket should hang about 6 to 10 inches below the one above it, allowing room for the rain to fall and drip gently from one to the next. Once your rain chain is assembled, attach the top bucket securely under your gutter's downspout. The bottom bucket can rest in a shallow basin barrel or planter filled with stones to catch and disperse the water. And then you wait for the rain. When the skies open, the water will tumble down your chain of buckets, clinking, dripping, shimmering. The sound is soft and soothing like wind chimes made of water. And the look utterly charming, especially set against the green of your garden and the blur of rainy day mist. It's a practical piece, yes, but it's also a sculpture, a memory, a moment, a reminder that even on gray days, beauty flows freely if we give it a place to land. Because repurposing isn't just about saving money or reducing waste. It's about honoring what already exists, about guiding water with intention, and about turning rainy days into something to look forward to. There's a quiet kind of beauty in old kitchen tools, especially those that once held something warm and comforting. A tea strainer, for example, may seem too small to matter now, but in this project, those tiny sieves become part of something greater, a delicate rain chain that transforms each drop of water into a soft musical moment. It's a little whimsical, a little nostalgic, and just lovely enough to feel like magic on a rainy afternoon. Begin by searching your local thrift store for vintage tea strainers, the kind with little handles or mesh baskets. Some metal, some perforated, each one shaped slightly differently. Look for 5 to 7 pieces. Don't worry if they're mismatched or tarnished. They'll only become more charming in the garden light. Once home, give each strainer a gentle cleaning. Remove the handles if needed. Some may twist off, others might need a quick snip with wire cutters. What you're left with are beautiful little bowls full of holes ready to catch and pass water. To connect them, you'll need a length of sturdy wire, floral wire, jewelry wire, or even bent coat hangers work well. Cut a length of wire and bend small hooks or loops at each end. Thread the wire through 2 opposing holes in the first strainer, then attach the next strainer underneath it using the same method. Continue linking them one to the next, spacing them 6 to 8 inches apart so water has room to fall gently from one to another. If your strainers don't have side holes, don't worry, you can loop the wire through the mesh or create small brackets by wrapping the wire around the rim. The look doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, a little unevenness adds to the handmade charm. Once your chain is complete, hang it beneath a gutter's edge or from a garden hook where rain naturally flows. Make sure the topmost strainer is well secured and place a small decorative bowl or basin beneath the final one to catch water or simply to complete the look. Then wait for the rain. When the drops begin to fall, you'll hear it a soft, delicate trickle as water dances from one tea strainer to the next. The perforated metal makes it whisper instead of shout. It's peaceful like a lullaby in the garden. And it's all made from something once used to steep a cup of tea. Because in your hands, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. And even the smallest things like rain or a tiny strainer can become vessels for beauty again and again. If you've ever paused near a flower bed and imagined tiny creatures hiding under the leaves, you're not alone. There's something timeless and comforting about the idea of fairies and miniature worlds tucked between the roots. And today, with a few thrifted treasures, you can invite a little of that magic into your own garden. This project turns discarded dollhouse furniture, bottle caps, and corks into a cozy lounge for your garden's tiniest guests. It's playful, easy to build, and guaranteed to spark smiles, especially if little ones are around. Begin at your favorite thrift store. Look for small pieces of doll furniture, tiny chairs, benches, or a miniature table if you're lucky. Don't worry about them matching or being in perfect condition. A little weathering only adds charm. Once home, clean the pieces gently. If any are bright pink or overly shiny, you can give them a quick makeover with muted, outdoor-safe paint, soft greens, wood tones, or aged white. This helps them blend into your garden's natural palette. Next, craft a few additional furnishings. Stack and glue bottle caps together to form little side tables. Use wine corks as rustic stools. You can glue them side by side for stability, or slice them in half for a lower profile. Want to add cushions? A bit of felt or burlap glued on top does the trick. Now find a quiet shaded corner of your garden under a fern beside a patch of moss or nestled beneath a bush. Clear a small flat area and lay down pebbles, bark chips, or broken tile pieces to create a floor for your fairy lounge. Arrange your miniature furniture into a cozy scene. Add details if you like a thimble as a cup, a tiny book made from folded paper, or even a flower petal tucked into a cork to resemble an umbrella. As you step back, you'll see it a tiny world coming to life. It doesn't move, it doesn't make noise, but it invites imagination. It tells a story, and every visitor, young or old, will pause and wonder who lives there. Because this isn't just a garden project, it's a whisper to the child still living in you. A way of saying, let's play again. And in creating this little scene from forgotten toys and tossed away caps, you've done something beautiful. You've turned clutter into wonder, and your garden into a storybook. And now, dear friend, step back with me for a moment. Look at all you've made or dreamed of making in this gentle garden of second chances. From teacup mushrooms to windchimes of silverware, from rubber boots blooming with wildflowers to mirrors wrapped in driftwood and memory. Each project is a tiny act of revival, of noticing, of love. This isn't just about saving money, although that's a lovely benefit. It's about something deeper, the quiet pride that comes when your hands take something tossed aside and give it a new beginning. Because the truth is, we know how it feels to be overlooked, to feel like our best years are behind us. But these DIYs remind us that beauty doesn't fade, it transforms. That usefulness isn't bound by youth, but by purpose. And that creativity doesn't retire. It ripens. With every rusty pipe you plant upright, with every colander you fill with ivy, you're not just decorating a garden. You're telling a story. Your story. One where the worn is still worthy, where the chipped is still charming, and where a little imagination is more powerful than anything you can buy. You don't need to bend too far, lift too much, or spend too big. You just need time, care, and that gentle spark of what if that turns a drawer into a planter or a salad spinner into a hanging herb garden. Every bloom that spills from a thrifted chair, every shimmer that catches sunlight in a mirror mosaic. It's a reminder that your hands still create beauty, your heart still makes space for joy, and your spirit, your spirit still knows how to play. So which idea brought you joy today? Which forgotten object will you look at differently next time you stroll through a Savers or a Value Village? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear which little treasure called out to you. And if this visit warmed your heart or stirred your creativity, I invite you to subscribe for more gentle inspiration, more thrifted beauty, more peaceful moments in the garden. Until we meet again, keep reusing, keep creating, and most of all, keep seeing the magic in the ordinary. Your garden and your life is more beautiful than you know. Until next time, happy gardening, dear friend.